Hello, I'm Ding. He was a strong character in 97, but in 98 he wasn't as ignored as you might think. Honestly, I was expecting MJ Hyung to come out, but this time, due to the lineup of the guests, I was a bit disappointed. The correct answer for the silhouette was Terry, who uses the rising tackle, which spins 180 degrees. If you just turn it, it looks like this, but it's too easy, so I turned it around. Actually, Terry was strong in 97, but even the nerfed 98 Terry is still pretty good. You can get used to this by playing and practicing, but since you only see moves in isolation, you end up watching all day. Still, as there's no free lunch in the world, Terry is a slightly strong beginner character. I'll explain this combo so you understand it. This is a basic introduction to the original distance. Ranged characters can get poisoned from taking many hits. They struggle against small, quick foes, which is one of their weaknesses. However, since the hitbox is quite generous, it's a great advantage that you can easily hit enemies who are coming in groups. Among Harry's ranged basic attacks, this one is the quickest with the highest speed, making it his best basic attack. If the counter hits, you can add extra combos like this, but unless you completely anticipate the opponent's move, it's risky. This is a basic close-range attack without invincibility, similar to Jinjum's World Heaven and Shield attacks. Terry's close-range basic attacks used to have unique idle frames, but that's all in the past now. The high attack judgment on close-range moves makes it difficult for tall or low-crouching characters to avoid by crouching, so blocking while standing is reasonable. You can combo into it, but landing a hit itself is a very difficult basic move. Did Nunga Terry always hit this softly? You can use it as a real guard break or as a combo ender, but using it like this is just difficult and not very effective. As a guard break starter, it's a bit lacking, but as a combo connector, it's the best move for Anja A. Avoid using it as an anti-air to check the opponent's distance since it's a true hitbox. The startup frames match Anja B, while active frames are slightly longer. Recovery is crucial, so it's not very fast. Therefore, B is the better starter choice. When you use parry, you have to remember to use this as a follow-up. Although it doesn't have as crazy a hitbox as Yashiro, its reach is long and the startup is fast, so it's a solid long-range B. Even if you use it as a zoning tool since the recovery is fast, unless the opponent has a physical projectile, it's hard for them to punish you. It's difficult. Right now, as you can see, the reach is this long and fast, so how are you supposed to punish it? There are people who can't do anything even though they have no real flaws, and these are the so-called marriage B types who use the excuse of being unlucky with women. Hwanjung is inferior to close range A, so the risk is still present despite this. There isn't. No. Some people excel at placing A after B or focus on B. In certain situations, you can even connect a high combo. Compared to the power gauge, this one is more sensitive to damage. It can be fully utilized even when you need to extend the combo. For reference, Anja A is 1 frame faster than Gunjuk B. Hwanjung and Baldong are not the main points. There are no special properties that make it invincible to projectiles. It's simply a long-range C. If you completely read your opponent, you can dodge them all, but when there's a difference in actual skill, it's tough. Even with these drawbacks, long-range A is still better because it has less risk. If the person who pressed the button lands a hit, it becomes a command C. The command grab is usually done with D, but if you use C, the cancel invincibility time is longer. C is beneficial for maintaining distance from E2, too, but its damage is lower than close D1 when approaching E2. 2 using E2 or T increases the distance, which is a disadvantage. In this case, you must finish the combo with jump D. You can continue to pressure like this, but if you don't, that's it. To keep your opponent in check, use a slightly ambiguous crouching C. The startup and movement of this move are standard, allowing its use after a jump attack, but it lacks strength. Using a close D or C instead offers no distinct benefit. Its reach is longer than standing C, but still slightly awkward for distant poking. However, Jae-hee lacks the special tools to pressure the opponent from that awkward distance. That's good. With an attack cancel, these moves are basic techniques used to quickly counter the opponent's mistakes by canceling into a special move after successfully blocking their attacks. Some Terry moves approach with a forward attack cancel, but maintaining distance can keep opponents in check. They can't do anything. Other basic machines would extract and refine elements from soil to make medicine, but this is impossible in this primitive world without advanced processing equipment. My name is D. The movement is so slow that it's frustrating, and if you can't cancel it, even the pass frame feels unbearably sluggish. The hitbox is generous, but it lacks knockback upon hitting, so what's the intended use for this? Landing the move as a counter is nearly impossible, making its practical use as a jump attack unrealistic. Parry's main move is forward D, which is the same as forward C with an identical activation frame, allowing for potential combo repetition. It's practically useless as a main combo. If it's difficult to use combos that require actual practice, it's better not to use them. Even these simple combos aren't very powerful. In official matches, it's a basic skill that's really useful, so make sure to practice it. The attack that's often used together with standing C for offense is standing D. You can move more quickly and naturally, so you can dodge or counterattack more easily this way. When I was a beginner, I used this move a lot in the middle of combos, but some people don't use it much because it doesn't hit behind, so when the opponent tries to get close, it's often used for zoning. It's slow to use and has a long recovery, so it's easy to get punished. Even if you look at other characters, Terry's CD in 98 is the strongest. His crouching punch can hit even small animals. Both his punch and frame resemble Ganon's D, making him a top-tier character. Even if the opponent tries to counter with their own moves, it doesn't work. Yuri's counter moves are highly representative, and her fast recovery frames allow her to easily punish the opponent's mistakes. If you use Terry's basic moves, you won't be easily pushed back in the neutral game. First, I'll show you Jump A. The startup frames are quick, with the hitbox right at the fingertip. It's safe enough to avoid punishment on offense. However, if the opponent's guard is too high, the attack won't be able to reach them. Next is Terry's basic moves, starting with his fastest B attack. This basic move is mainly for air-to-air combat and has limited utility otherwise. However, since the hitbox is a bit small, if you use it carelessly, you might get counterattacked. But if you press B right after you jump, you can move quickly, and the startup speed is also fast. Terry's special moves are cases that have been specialized for Russia. In the case of Jump C, the hitbox is extremely advantageous, and not only the hitbox, but also the attack retention frame is so long that it can easily counter opponents who try to challenge you. But the real purpose of Jump C is to immediately connect to a combo. That's what it is, so the long recovery makes it vulnerable to punishment by the opponent's guard. If you want to pressure your opponent from the front and keep them in check, just use Jeff D's baseball bat swing. The motion is the same as Jump C, but the recovery isn't very good. Instead, the reach is quite long. It can also be used for air-to-air, but compared to Jump C, its success rate is much lower. In reality, attempting a cross-up often reverses the hitbox, so careful selection is crucial. Only use this technique as a last resort when you have no other options. Hitbox is using the same thing, but that's because the frame doesn't drop. The damage is 5 frames faster than a strong attack, and the recovery is also 5 frames faster. Basically, if you use a weak attack, it's easy to add extra hits. But if you use a strong attack, you can't even think about following up with a power dunk. When 5 or less, even if you get hit by a guard, you're still relatively safe. Using a strong move can leave you vulnerable to a delayed catch, not just for grabs, but in regular fields too. Be cautious when using strong moves to avoid getting caught. If you use it well, you can create opportunities to counter your opponent's guard habits. It's a good move to cut off approaches from opponents who try to come in recklessly, so it's useful for controlling space. It's good to use it with B because it cuts off the opponent's advance and keeps your guard up solidly. You can use D as well, but since the startup is 4 frames and the recovery is 1 frame, you can't use D in situations where you need to respond quickly to an attack. The counter also stuns, and if you're lucky, even if you succeed, you might end up giving your opponent a chance to recover. The techniques I showed are based on the national standard. I will demonstrate Terry's moves as combos. In the past, people praised the satisfying feeling of Terry's successful combos. You might be impressed when you see them too. I'll show you the damage of the full gauge character's finishing combo and compare it to a regular combo's damage. Having the right combo sequence is crucial, but successfully executing it leads to an incredibly impactful and exciting experience. And if you don't do it right, you'll fail, so what I'm saying is absolutely true.